Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom has a fun new winter release that's now available. Here's a quick look at the November 2025 release. Lots of really fun products. Jaded Blossom never disappoints with their fun releases, and if you are interested, I do have links in the description box below. We'll start with the Snowstorm stencil. This is currently the freebie you'll receive if you purchase at least $50 worth of product, and one item must be from the new release. This is for a limited time and while supplies last. I love this design. It'll be perfect for winter cards. Next up, we have a new gnome friend. Say hello to the moose. And of course, there is a stamp set with the moose faces. I am loving all the new gnome friends, and the moose is a great new addition. So here's a look at the dies so you can get an idea of the size. Most of the friends are about the same size, and they can hold the same objects that the gnomes hold. You can even use some of the gnome hats and other clothing for the gnome friends. For the moose, there are two different options. You can have it sitting or standing. The die set does include pieces for the face, but it's always fun having more variety with the stamp set faces. And later on in the video, I will show a moose with the stamped face and a moose with the die cut face. Next up, we have another gnome friend set. This one is Snowman dies. So open up the package so you can get an idea of the size. This is a super cute snowman. And it does have a snowman face stamp set. I'm not sure why I didn't grab it at this point, but I will show it here in a moment. There are a few different options for the snowman's face. There's a hat, earmuffs, a scarf, mittens, and a few other fun accessories to decorate your snowman. To go along with the snowman friend, there's also a snowman pets die set. This one is super cute. And of course, we do have the stamp set with the variety of different face options. So with this set, you can make a snow cat, a snow bunny, and a snow dog. And there are lots of fun accessories. There's the little stocking hat, the top hat, earmuffs. There's a bandana. And for the tails, there are the two different options, whether you want it on the right side or the left side of your snow pet. There's just the one body for all three pets. You'll just change out the heads. There's one more die set in the new release. It's called Winter Scenic Dies, but you could use this set year-round. There are trees, mountains, and 3 different stitched hills. You could use them for snow, but you could also use them for grass or maybe a dirt hill. Let me pull these out of the package so you can get an idea of the size. I love the variety of different trees. So there's the main tree and then some individual smaller pieces for the trunks. And then for the mountains, you can have them with or without the snow caps. I love creating scenes on my cards for Jaded Blossom's gnomes and gnome friends, and this set will be very helpful. Jaded Blossom also has some new MDF pieces to go with the new gnome friends. So there's the sitting moose and the standing moose, and you can get them with either the stand or the hang tag ring. There's also the snowman and the snowman pet, and those are only available with the stand. Jaded Blossom's MDF pieces are always super popular, so make sure to grab your set to go with the new release. I mentioned earlier I forgot to show the snowman face stamp set to go with the gnome friends snowman dies. So here's a look at it. It's called Cute Snowman Faces. There are so many fun faces on this set. There's happy, there's sad, there's even the snowman that's crying. So there's a look at everything that's in Jaded Blossom's November 2025 release. And if you are interested, I do have links in the description box below. As always, I do have a few cards to share using the new release. And for all of the cards, the pattern paper I'm using is from Cartabella. It's the Winter Wonderland collection. This is a beautiful collection, and I believe it is still available, and I will link it in the description box below. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I selected this fun wind snowfall pattern paper for the background. It's a blue tone-on-tone design. I cut that piece to 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches, and I'm layering it on some dark blue cardstock. That piece is an additional 1/8 of an inch, so 5 3/8 of an inch by 4 1/8 of an inch. Across the center of the card, I'm adding this darker blue tone-on-tone pattern with snowflakes. I'll layer it on the same dark blue cardstock. I'll put adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the banner piece, I did cut a fishtail on the right side, and when I was prepping this card, I made that banner piece a little bit too short. So I did cut it into 2 pieces. When adhering it down, I'll start with the side on the left, and I'm using the grid lines on my craft mat to get that banner nice and straight. Now when I adhere the second piece down, I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch gap. And when adhering the second side of the banner piece, I'll just make sure it looks fairly lined up. That gap will be covered up with a scallop square die cut. This die is from Jaded Blossom, and I use some white shimmer cardstock. Before adhering it down, I will add a narrow strip of cardstock on the top and bottom, just in the area where it goes off of that banner across the card. That way it stays at the same level. Now I'll put adhesive on the back and add this scallop square on the left side of the card. And this is where I'll be adding one of the gnome friend images. You can see once I add this square down, it covers up that missing gap of the banner on the background. Try to make sure to get this square on nice and straight. Now I'll set that aside and start assembling the sitting moose. I've already die cut out all of the pieces, and I have them in the small stack and sort tray from scrapbook.com. I'll grab my cut down silicone mat to do all the gluing. I've already stamped one of the faces on the moose, and since I use brown cardstock for the face, I want the eye highlight areas to be white, so I'm using a white gel pen, and I'll do that step first so there's time for the ink to dry completely. For the very background of the moose, you will see the legs, so I'm using brown cardstock, and I use the same shade for most of the moose, so the body, the legs, the head, and the ears. The bottom of the feet are a slightly darker brown cardstock color. Then I used a lighter brown cardstock color for the chest, the muzzle, and then even lighter for the antlers. I used a darker color for the little hair tuft on the top of its head and the chest hair. For several parts of the moose, like the head and the front legs, there's an outline piece, and you will cover these up with individual pieces. So the very front legs, there's the main leg area, the fur, and then the hooves at the bottom. And I use a dark gray cardstock for the hooves, including the bottom area of the sitting hooves. Having the faux stitched outline on many of the pieces makes it super easy to know where those individual pieces go. So you can see on the bottom of the foot, it has the little faux stitched area for the bottom hoof area. So once I have those dark gray pieces down, I'll attach the individual back feet. Now I'll add the chest area, then the face. I'm still being careful not to touch the white gel pen area, just in case it isn't completely dry. Next, I'll add the individual antlers. And before the glue dries completely, I like to lift up the image and make sure all those individual pieces are lined up. Now for the ears, this looks a little odd. The larger piece will be the inside area of the ear. I think right now it actually looks like a tongue. For the larger piece of the ear, I use light pink cardstock. And then there's a narrow piece that goes on top of the pink piece. And I use the same brown cardstock I use for most of the moose's body. So once I add that narrow brown piece on top, you can see that the pink area is the inside of the ears. Now I'll add the little hair tuft on top, and I use a dark brown cardstock. Most of the cardstock I use for the die cuts is from my scrap cardstock drawers. This is why I always save some of the smaller scraps. Sometimes you only need a teeny tiny piece. Next, I'll add the 2 front legs, and I like to put the legs down before the little chest hair piece. So once the legs look fairly even, I'll add the dark brown hair, or I guess fur piece. So there's the moose all assembled. I think it's super cute. I'll set it aside, grab the card, and I'm adding the moose inside the scallop square. I decided not to pop it up with foam. Instead, I'll put barely art glue on the back and adhere the little moose in place. I made sure to get good coverage. Want this moose to stay attached to the card. I'll press it down firmly, and I am placing a large acrylic block on top for some added weight while the glue dries. And I did let that sit a little bit longer than what you see in the video. There aren't any new sentiment stamps included in the release, and of course Jaded Blossom has tons of amazing sentiments. But for a few of my cards, I decided to use the sticker sheet that goes with the Winter Wonderland collection. I selected Let It Snow, and I'll adhere it on the right side of the moose. Now about half of that sentiment goes off of the scallop square, so I will put a scrap piece of cardstock behind that area. Then I'll put glue on the bag and adhere it in place. For embellishments, I'm using Jaded Blossom's Winter Embellishment Cluster die set. I love the snowflakes. I cut out all 3 sizes from some silver holographic paper. The Embellishment Cluster die sets are still some of my favorite from Jaded Blossom, and they have a fun variety of different shapes. If you're making winter cards right now, I would suggest the Winter Embellishment Cluster set. You can quickly cut out lots of embellishment pieces, and since it's a die, you can customize what kind of paper or cardstock you're using. I love adding a little bit of sparkle on my cards, so I use a lot of holographic paper for the embellishment cluster die cuts. And this is again why you keep those small scrap pieces of your specialty paper or cardstock. For the embellishment cluster dies, you only need a tiny piece and you can get lots of little embellishment die cut pieces. So there is my finished card, and I do have 2 of the MDF pieces featuring the moose. I did a sitting one with the stand, and then the hang tag ring with the standing moose. The MDF pieces with the stand are great for decoration around the house. And then the MDF pieces with the hang tag ring are perfect for ornaments. So if you're working on Christmas ornaments right now, be sure to check out Jaded Blossom's MDF pieces. Now moving on to card design number 2. For this card, I'll be using the new Winter Scenic die set. For the very background of my card, I have more pattern paper from the Winter Wonderland collection. It's very similar to the background I used for the first card. It's that light blue, but instead of the tone-on-tone, it has more of a white print for the snowflakes and little wind swirls. I'll be adding the mountain range in the background, and I use some gray cardstock. I'll add that piece down first and 2 of the snowy hills. And for the snow, I use some white shimmer cardstock. The mountain range and the snow hills will fit perfectly horizontal on an A2 size card. For the background of my card, I cut it just a little bit smaller, so it's 5 1/4 of an inch by 4 inches. So I did need to trim down the mountain range and the snow hills. I'll layer the background piece on dark blue cardstock. Add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Since this is a winter card, I am adding the snow caps on the mountains, and I use the same white shimmer cardstock. And there are several different snow caps for the peaks of the mountains. Put glue on the bag, adhere those down, and I love how it continues on with that faux stitch detail. I'll also be adding 3 of the trees. I selected some of the smaller trees for this card. I used some of the green tone-on-tone pattern paper for the trees and then brown cardstock for the trunk. You can see on the back of one of the trees there's a floral design. And if you're confused which trunk goes with which tree, you can look at the faux stitch detail and then of course the size of the trunk. The faux stitching really adds a lot of detail to the trees. So once all 3 of those are assembled, I'll add them on my scene. I'm putting a smaller tree and the larger tree on the left side, and then one of the smaller trees on the right side. And the tree on the right, I'll tuck it behind that top back snowy hill. The smaller tree on the left side will go on the back snowy hill, but before adhering it down, I am putting a scrap piece of cardstock behind it, just in the area where it goes off of that hill. That way it stays at the same level. Now you will see some of that white cardstock through the stitch detail of the tree, but that's okay, it just looks like snow. I won't adhere the last tree down yet. First, I want to figure out placement for my 2 snow pets. I'll be making a snow cat and a snow dog, and I'll start with the snow cat. I've already stamped the faces, and I did color in the little muzzle and tongue and then the cat's nose using some Copic markers. Since they are snow pets, I use white cardstock for all the main pieces of each of the pets. The cat's tail will be on the right side, its left side. There's a little area at the end of the tail that doesn't have the faux stitching. That's where you'll add glue and then you can place the cat on top. The cat will be wearing the top hat, and the band, this light blue color, is some of the pattern paper from the Winter Wonderland collection. I use black cardstock for the main background piece of the hat, and then there are individual pieces for the rest of the hat. So the very top and then the brim of the hat, I use the black, and then I'll add the band in the center. Once I have the hat fully assembled, I'll put glue on the back side, just in the lower area, and add the hat on top of the snow cat. The cat will also be wearing the bandana. This is more pattern paper. It's a dark blue tone-on-tone design. And I know it's really hard to see that pattern in the video. There's the background piece for the bandana and then 3 individual pieces. And adding those individual pieces really gives the image more detail. But you could just use that background piece since it still has the faux stitching. I'll put glue on the back of the bandana and adhere it underneath the cat's head. Then the final step for the snow cat is to add the little stick arms. And I think this is the part that really shows that it's a snow cat instead of just a cat critter. We'll put glue behind just the ends of the arms and adhere the cat on top. You can put them behind the cat or in front. Next, I'll assemble the snow dog, and it's very similar to the snow cat. I'll start with the body piece, add the head that includes the dog's ears. I've already stamped and colored the face. I'll add that piece down next. Now the dog will be wearing a scarf and the little winter hat. Before adding either of those, I'll put the individual ear pieces down. The hat and the scarf have that outline background piece, and then there's the individual pieces to give it more detail. I used the dark blue tone-on-tone paper for the hat and the scarf, and a light blue tone-on-tone pattern paper for the little pom-pom of the hat. Now for the background pieces, you could just use some scrap cardstock since it will be covered up. But they're fairly small pieces, and I had some small areas of the pattern paper left over. Once the hat's all assembled, I'll put glue just on the bottom area and adhere it on the top of the snow dog's head. Now I'll put together the scarf and put glue on the back and adhere it underneath the dog's head. For the dog's tail, I'll add it on our left, the dog's right side. Just like the cat's tail, there's a little area without the faux stitching. That's where you'll put the glue, then you place the snow dog on top. For the stick arms, this time I'll add them in front of the snow dog. So I'll add that tiny drop of glue at the bottom area of the arm, then adhere one on the right and left side. The one on the right, I'm tucking it underneath part of the scarf. For the snow dog, I'm also giving him the coal buttons, and I'm just adding 2 since there's not a lot of area with the scarf. So there's the snow dog and the snow cat all assembled. Now I need to figure out the rest of the scene of the card. Wasn't sure if I wanted them separated with the tree in between. So I'll move around the snow pets and that last tree, trying to figure out what I like best. I also need to make sure I can fit the sentiment. I'm adding the sentiment, Hello Winter, and this is from Jaded Blossom's Winter is Gnoming stamp set, and I cut it out using the coordinating outline dies. I stamped the sentiment on some of the blue tone-on-tone pattern paper, and using the outline dies, I cut out another piece from white cardstock. I'll adhere them together, offsetting them slightly, so you'll see just a little bit of that white underneath the sentiment and on the left side. I will put some foam dimension behind the snow pets, but just behind their head. The bodies I'll glue down since that area will be on the front snowy hill. The foam dimension I'm using is from scrapbook.com. It's their large foam squares in the 1mm thickness. So it'll add just that little extra dimension. I did cut one of the squares in half to fit behind the bottom area of the cat's head. I decided to put the final tree on the left side, and the 2 snow pets will be together, and I'll even have their little stick hands holding. I'll remove the release paper on the foam of the cat, put glue behind the body, and adhere the cat in the lower right-hand corner. Then I'll add foam behind the dog's head, put glue behind the body, and adhere it next to the cat. And I did cut another foam square in half to fit behind the snow dog's ears. So you can see I'm lining it up so their little hands are holding. The snow pets do blend into the background a bit since they're on a snowy hill. I use the white shimmer cardstock for the snowy hills and then just plain cardstock for the snow pets. You could ink the outside edges of the snow pets if you want them to stand out a little more from the background. I still need to add the tree. Just behind the top area of the tree, I'll add a piece of foam. The rest of the area, I'll adhere it down with glue. For the sentiment, I'm placing it right in between the top 2 mountain peaks, the 2 highest. The very right and the very left side of the sentiment will overlap those peaks just a tiny bit. Behind the center area of the sentiment, I'll add foam dimension. After adding the snow dog down, I realized the little pom-pom of his hat really blends in with that light blue sky background. So I did cut out another piece from the lighter green tone-on-tone pattern paper. So there is my finished card. I love the new Winter Scenic die set. I also made a snow bunny, but this time I used the standing MDF piece. Now it's time to assemble the Gnome Friends Snowman. I use white cardstock for the main body of the snowman. And instead of using one of the snowman stamp faces, I'm using one of the die cut pieces that has the eyes and mouth pieces cut out. It also has that faux stitch area for the nose. I put clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back of the face and inlaid the eyes and the mouth pieces. The snowman will be wearing some earmuffs. I use white cardstock for the background piece of the earmuffs, the blue tone-on-tone for the fluffy area of the earmuffs, and the dark blue tone-on-tone for the headband area of the earmuffs. And I use the same dark blue pattern paper for the scarf. There are two different options of scarves for the snowman. I'm using the one that goes around the neck and then it has one end laying down. There's a second scarf image. It looks mostly the same, but there's an additional end that's sort of flying up in the wind. And I will show you a card using that scarf here later on. After adhering the scarf down, I'll add the snowman's carrot nose. One of the arm options for the snowman has the little mittens on the end, which is super cute. I use brown cardstock for the main piece since you will see the arm area. Then I use the light blue tone-on-tone pattern paper for the mittens. I'll also add the 3 coal buttons, and I use black cardstock. Now before I add the arms down, I'll first attach the earmuffs. And I only need to add a little bit of glue on the inside area of the earmuffs where it's attached to the snowman's head. Now I'll add the 3 black coal buttons. And it's so fun that they aren't actually circles. They're more irregular random shapes, which would be more like coal. To help hold those earmuffs in place until the glue dries completely, I will put a piece of clear double-sided tape on the back side. I've already assembled most of the card, and I'll also be including a snow dog. For the sky background area, I used the new Snowstorm stencil. Added a couple of snowy hills, 5 trees, and the snowman and the snow dog will be sitting on a sled. And the sled die is included on Jaded Blossom's Gnome Winter add-on set. I attached both of the snowman's arms and I have them reaching upward. Now I'll put foam dimension on the back using the large foam squares in the 1mm thickness. I'm not adding any foam behind the snowman's mitten on the right side. And I also didn't put any foam at the very bottom of the snowman, the area where he's standing on the sled. After removing the release paper from the foam, I'll put a little bit of glue at the very bottom of the snowman and also behind that right mitten and adhere the snowman on the back side of the sled. I already have foam behind the snow dog. I'll put glue at the very bottom where it's sitting on the sled and add the dog on the right side of the snowman. You can see the dog does cover up that other mitten from the snowman. For a sentiment, decided to use more of the stickers from the Winter Wonderland collection using another Let It Snow. I'll adhere it in the upper left-hand corner. So there is my finished card. I think this one is super fun. They're having a great winter day sledding. Using the new Gnome Friends Snowman set, I also put together one of the Snowman MDF pieces with the stand. I used one of the stamped faces, and this snowman is holding a holographic snowflake. To decorate the top of the MDF stand, there is a die set. It's called MDF Standing Base Die. I have 2 more cards to share. One features another snowman. I used a craft cardstock for the background, and I added this fun pierced snowflake detail. The snowman is standing on a snowy hill, and here's the snowman that has the other scarf with one of the ends blowing in the wind. My final card features the standing moose, and instead of a winter card, I decided to make a birthday card, although I did use the same Winter Wonderland pattern paper. The party hat and the present that the moose is holding are from Jaded Blossom's birthday banner die set, and the stars are from their original Embellishment Cluster die set. Now here's another look at the 9 cards and MDF pieces I made using Jaded Blossom's brand new November 2025 winter release. This is an adorable new release. I love the new gnome friend, the winter Scenic die set, plus all the fun stamps and stencil. Jaded Blossom never disappoints. They always bring us really fun releases. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.